Hello. So we're back. Now we are with Brian, the CEO of FutureLab, a cradle-funded EdTech startup that designs, manages, and tracks large-scale mentoring programs in learning institutions, corporations, and startup accelerators. So FutureLab platform has powered a number of key startup players in Malaysia, such as Magic, MDEC, SDEC, and Tegas Sarawak. And in 2020, FutureLab was selected as Holo IQ's top 50 innovative EdTech startups in Southeast Asia. And Howie has actually mentioned this earlier in his session about FutureLabs. So today, with Brian, we're going to dive in on the challenges that he has faced while building his EdTech startup. I'll pass it on to Brian.
Hey everyone, morning. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you guys can hear me okay. So, they invited me to talk about the challenges about building an EdTech startup in Southeast Asia. So I thought I'll just start very quickly by introducing myself for the people that don't really know me. So that's me, that's my team. I study in the UK, I'm a biochemist. So I studied in the University of Bath. For my undergrad, did a year in Oxford University and decided that I didn't want to be a biochemist. So I did a master's in management in Imperial Business School. When I came back to Malaysia, I worked as a management consultant for Accenture, where I did a lot of digital transformation projects for telcos and banks. And actually, this is one of the reasons why, I wanted to build FutureLab. And eventually in 2016, I left my job to do FutureLab full-time. We're an online mentorship platform. We have over 2,000 industry mentors and done over 5,000 mentoring sessions in the past few years. So why did I start FutureLab? I was really concerned about this statistic, right? 50% of university graduates are unemployed. And when I looked into it a lot more, it's mainly because universities and learning institutions are not producing the right talent for the current workforce, especially in emerging markets like Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Cambodia, and whatnot, right? Where there's so many tech startups like ourselves, there could be entrepreneurs like you trying to build EdTech companies and can't really find the right to help you build these companies. So it really, it really interests me and I really made me want to solve it. So what I believe was like getting people in industry to actually mentor these students was the best way of building the right talent. And in 2020, this problem really exploded to not just youth, but also working professionals that lost their jobs now don't know what to do. Companies now needing to digitalize themselves to survive as well, right? So I also believe that mentorship can really help them. So what is FutureLab? We help our users upskill and reskill through mentorship. And why I think mentors are really valuable at this point in time is because they can really provide you real-time insights into what is happening in the company, what's happening in the industry, what skills are in demand, and also how to develop them. Sorry, this clicking thing is quite irritating. Cool. So we don't only just help individuals, but organizations as well. So actually, we started with a social enterprise. And I'll explain to you why I'm explaining to you about this as I explain to you my challenges, right? So first, we started as a social enterprise where students, working professionals, and business owners could connect to our mentors to really gain career guidance and also bridge their skill gaps through online courses, through webinars, workshops, even like group mentoring sessions. But how we made money for FutureLab is actually we sell enterprise solution to organizations like learning institutions, large corporations, government agencies, where we really help them design, manage, and track large-scale digital mentoring programs. And this is kind of what really helped us grow moving forward as an early stage EdTech company. And then last year we grew around 400%. So this is the number of different learning institutions in Malaysia and Singapore that uses FutureLab, and these are the corporations and companies in Malaysia that also uses FutureLab. And with all the work we did last year, we were named top 50 EdTech companies in Southeast Asia. Yeah, and this is just some of the information about us last year. So in Singapore, we raised 50,000 Sing dollars for charity. We were one of the top 5 learning platforms during quarantine if you wanted to learn. We launched in Sarawak with the Chief Minister. This is the Magic program, the GAP program that's been running on FutureLab for the last 4 years. So all the mentoring sessions run on FutureLab. And then we joined the first EdTech accelerator in Southeast Asia last year, where we were the first cohort. So I'm going to share all of this and the challenges we faced in the last 5 years. So, I assume that I assume the people in this conversation, want to build a tech company. So, I kind of when they invited me to do this, I thought about it in that perspective. So I would start with the most obvious thing, right? is very traditional. It's a very traditional industry, right? And I think this picture kind of depicts it really well. This is the early 1900s. That is what a classroom looks like. And that is 2015, what a classroom looks like, right? So you can tell already is a mindset thing, right? It's a very traditional industry that they believe that, hey, I've been doing this for like hundreds of years. Why change? Right? You think about prestige, right? You think about Oxford University, Harvard University, they are very old universities. And they do a lot of traditional things that hasn't changed for hundreds of years, right? Until COVID. But let's just talk before COVID, right? So I think there's a huge mindset barrier you first need to enter, right? When trying to enter this industry. So one thing is like convincing the organization to try new technology when they have never used it before. And this is a big problem for them as well, because they're used to running, let's say, career fairs, they're used to running these kind of like events and whatnot. They don't really have the budget for tech. So when you try to enter this industry, budget is a huge thing for you to try to get into. Even trying to get your foot into the door is also very, very tough, right? So first you need to understand what you're going to get yourself into. Once you understand what you're going to get yourself into, and let's say you manage to get your foot into it, the end users are still teachers and students, right? So let's say you go through management side, you then get to have the buy-in from the teachers. And when you think about teachers and lecturers, they're a bit older, right? And I think that's a nice way of saying it. So they're not that tech savvy, right? If you think about it, a lot of the students, their parents are the same age as the lecturers, right? So just imagine like trying to teach your parents how to use tech to teach. It's very, very tough. So I'll go into the next challenge after that. But you got to first understand that this is a challenge, right? The second thing, building the right product is very expensive, right? So UI UX is very key when you're trying to build any EdTech company, any product, any platform. It is expensive to build, right? You have three stakeholders here. You have the management that signs your contracts. You have the end users, which are the teachers, which are a bit older, less tech savvy, and the age ranges a lot, right? You can have very young lecturers, which are like 35, but you can also have very old lecturers like 60 to 65. So the range of understanding how they should use the product is not easy, right? It's a lot of like, you try it out, collect feedback, build. Try it out, collect feedback, build. And that is expensive. If you're building a tech company, software engineers are really expensive in the market. And it's mainly because there's not enough, there's not enough talent, right? This is also why FutureLab is trying to solve it. And also software engineers get poached all the time, right? So if you have a good product, they're going to be poached by those big guys that have like, Series A, Series B. So keeping the talent is also very tough, right? Okay, so besides just building a product, user experience needs to be there. Students can pick it up a lot easier than the older generation. The second thing as well is pedagogy, right? How are you measuring that what you've built has value to the organization that you're selling it to, right? Are the students learning better? Is it easier for the teachers to create this kind of programs, right? So you then need to look at another layer of pedagogy. So for example, you spend all the money building a very nice user experience product. But the most important thing is like, can you measure the impact that your technology has on that organization? Because that is going to be what you use for the next contract you get, or the next client you're going to get, right? And during the early days, while you kind of figure out what kind of product to build, it is also very hard to charge any money, right? And that's completely fair, right? It's a hard industry to get into. Someone said like, okay, come here, try it out, right? You go in there, you're going to charge them. You have to try it out and try to build it first. Until once you build the product where it's satisfactory or like good enough, where then you can start charging. So in the early stages, it's very hard to make money. But this is also a problem, a very big challenge in EdTech, right? In the early days, and that leads to fundraising, right? Fundraising is very tough during early days, because as I mentioned, tough industry to get into. Not necessarily you can make money straight away. And you're also competing with all the other sexier industries, or e-commerce, your blockchain, what else? E-logistics, your fintechs, right? And when you think about VCs, there's not many dedicated EdTech VCs Southeast Asia. Right now there is. I think for anyone trying to enter EdTech now, it's a good time. I definitely say it's a good time now. But I'm also talking about, like, I've been doing this for 5 years, right? So this is kind of like how I've seen the changes from when I started in 2016 to now, right? But the good thing for us as well is that we're way ahead now. But for anyone who's trying to get in, there's more there's more money now for early stage EdTech. But I'll explain to you how we did it as well, so that, you know, if there's no money for you there, like how you can find out how FutureLab did it. And one thing you got to understand about VCs as well, right? They're there to make money, right? They're not. I mean, you can't really blame them for not investing in an early stage EdTech, right? The money that they raise for their funds is not actually their money, and it's for limited partners, and they need to definitely earn a return on that. So, and they also like to follow trends, right? I think, you know, VCs like to follow each other as well. So if people are investing in fintech, everyone's going to go into fintech, right? Then there's not that much money for anything else. But you just got to understand the ecosystem and whatnot. Cool. So how to overcome these challenges? The first thing is start with the innovators, right? Like, I think this is basically the innovation curve. Like, start with the innovators. I think now is a great time to start, mainly because this whole traditional industry thing has been hit very hard, right? You can't go to classes. Everyone has to adopt technology and whatnot. There are a lot of university students that are not going to university. Because, you know, what's the point of going to university if I'm going to be online anyways, and it's expensive. Why don't I just take a gap year, do some work, and then go into it, right? So there's a lot of universities or learning institutions that are now struggling to think like, oh no, I need to make money, right? How do I attract people to my university or to my institution? And that is the opportunity for you guys, right? Find out who's trying to go digital. Find out who's trying to invest in innovation. Reach out to them and see whether you can, you know, get a pilot with them and then start the process. The second thing, remember I told you about, like, you know, funding is tough, getting the foot is difficult as well. Look for government grants, right? And early stage EdTech accelerators. I think this is a very good way of starting your journey. If you think of any country, there's a lot of money funded into education, right? Because how well a country performs is based on how well educated the citizens are, right? So for us, we started with the Cradle CIP 150. I started with 150,000 ringgit, which is very little. But now I think Cradle is giving like 500,000 to 1 million ringgit to start, which is insane, right? So like, if you're a Malaysian, go for it, right? It's you know, it's a grant. Magic is also another great place to start. Good things about working with these kind of Malaysian government agencies is that they can open doors for you into the education industry, right? Magic works with a lot of universities. So one of the programs that we are just launching with them is this University Startup Challenge. We have 200 university students now with startup ideas. They have a lot of industry connections there. So get into these programs, get Magic to introduce you there, and then go from there. If you're in East Malaysia, there's SDEC now. SDEC is the Sarawakian MDEC, but a bit more earlier stage for startups. Tegas Digital Innovation Hub as well. They're really good guys. So if you guys want to, you know, East Malaysia and want to build these kind of tech companies, they're great. Sunway iLabs is also another good place to start, right? Yeah, so if you're early stage, Sunway iLabs, I would recommend. Also join hackathons. When I say join hackathons, join meaningful hackathons, right? Where at the end you can actually have a decent amount of, you know, prize money to start your ideas. When we started FutureLab, I joined, I think, 1 or 2 hackathons. That's about it. But I've definitely seen many people doing like 20 hackathons, right? Like, I don't actually understand the point of doing that many. You really want to, you know, slowly move forward, but you really have to be quite deliberate in how you want to grow that company and understand the ecosystem that you have if you're in Malaysia. But in Singapore as well is quite good now, because there's a lot more EdTech initiatives coming up. As I mentioned to you, we joined the EduSpace Accelerator program. That was really good. They also invested in us last year. Singapore has a lot of education initiatives for Singaporeans, and they don't mind taking any startup as long as you're building the right technology. So you can definitely check out Institute of Adult Learning in Singapore. They also have like these kind of programs where you can go in, test it out, and they're government linked. So they'll link you to all the vocational schools and whatnot. There's a new accelerator called Supercharger. It's what they just launched recently. And you guys should also check out AWS Start programs. So Amazon also has their own startup EdTech startup accelerators that can really help you grow the company a lot. Okay, I think that's basically it. I think last piece of advice from me is that if you do want to venture into EdTech, I think this is a very meaningful place that you can make an impact in, right? Because I think it's definitely hard to start, but once you see the impact you make, it definitely encourages you to go through the challenges, right? This kind of industry, like if you crack it, if you solve it, you will definitely make the future generations better. And I think that is something quite meaningful. And I think, like, personally for me, I feel like that's really what motivates me to build EdTech, right? Because I think you can really see it in the young kids, you can see it in the young working professionals, and I think that's how you can move the nation forward, and also how you can make you can push humanity forward. So I do think that if you guys are pursuing this, I definitely would recommend it. It's tough, but definitely worth it. Okay, thank you so much for your time. Happy to answer any questions, and I definitely went over time.
No worries on the timing. Okay, so Q&A, jumping straight into the Q&A. Do FutureLab open to trainer or training providers to work with your organization in providing training?
Yes, of course. Yeah, we just started doing that as well. Yeah, because I do think that the learning industry is very fragmented. So we definitely want to be kind of being able to provide multiple kinds of trainings for different kinds of users. So whether it be entrepreneurs, whether it be like working professionals, different industries and whatnot. So short answer is yes.
Okay, moving on to the next one. If we to offer the product for free, can you share some tips on how we can sustain our product without subscription from the users?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because like we started free as well. But you need to understand, if you want to actually build a company and get funds, right? Because remember, I told you it's expensive to build. You definitely need to make money. Try to figure out very quickly how do you make money. So the reason why I showed you the enterprise and the enterprise software side, right, is because we make money from the enterprise side. And how we came about to that was very interesting. So people saw that we would build this kind of mentorship platform, right? Actually, our first client was Magic. Magic came to us. They went like, Brian, you joined our programs before. We're looking for a mentoring platform. Can you guys kind of like repackage FutureLab and give it to us? And this is literally what we did, and they paid us 20,000 ringgit for it. So like, and then at that point when I think that's year 1 or year 2 of FutureLab, I was like, oh, this is how we make money, right? And then after we did that, then that's how we got to the MDEX, the other government agencies. But there's a lot of work, and we did get a lot of shit from a lot of the users as well. So you definitely have to get a lot of, you need to have some thick skin, right? And also, I think you come from a place where you're trying to build the best product, but it takes time, right? It definitely takes time. So you can do for free, but honestly, like even if you look at Indonesia and whatnot, all these like unicorns, they're not really making money. So like, don't be one of them, right? Try to find out like how to make money quick and then scale that up, because that'll be more worth it.
Yeah, I think like having feedbacks actually help makes your product better as well. Like when you have all these feedbacks, it gives different insights to what the product can be and what it is. Yeah. Okay, all right. Thank you very much for joining us, Brian. I'll see you later in the panel discussion. So I've actually shared Brian's LinkedIn on the chat section. So if you guys are interested to connect with Brian, please do so on LinkedIn. I'll see you guys in next session.